Thank you, Speaker. These amendments address multiple issues. Firstly, they remove the sections of this bill that hand federal responsibility to the states regarding fossil fuel developments that affect water resources. In October of 2023, together with Senator Hanson-Young in the Senate, I introduced a bill to expand the existing water trigger in the EPBC Act to include unconventional gas projects. And later that year, the government finally responded, expanding the water trigger to cover unconventional gas projects through the Nature Repair Market Bill. That was a massive win for our nature, wildlife and for future generations, but now we are being taken backwards. The Environment Protection Bill 2025 will give power back to the state and territory governments to make decisions about large coal mining and unconventional gas projects that affect groundwater reserves or waterways, rather than the federal government. Numerous experts and environmental organisations have warned that the state and territories are likely to favour developments which they profit from over the environment. Speaker, handing approval powers back to the state and territory governments, as this bill does, puts Australia's waterways, groundwater and agriculture at even greater risk from coal and gas fracking projects. My amendments also address native forest logging and deforestation. First, they repeal the exemption for the regional forestry agreements in the EPBC Act. Second, they repeal what is called the continuous use exemption. Third, they insert a new provision that makes clear that in any area over 20 hectares where threatened or migratory species may exist must be referred for assessment under the National EPBC Act. And fourth, they prohibit forestry operations from being allowed through bioregional plans, bilateral agreements and prohibit national interest exemptions from applying to forestry operations. Australia is facing a deforestation crisis. We are the only developed nation on the global list of deforestation hotspots, and we hold the record for the highest number of mammal extinctions. And it was very sad to hear that we have just clocked up our 39th extinction. And despite the minister saying that the regional forestry agreements will be subject to the new environmental standards, there is no mechanism in this bill to achieve that. These amendments are urgent and they are possible. We cannot delay and our wildlife cannot wait. Finally, these amendments strengthen decision-making in the proposed reforms by shifting subjective provisions and language towards objective decision-making framework. Speaker, the Samuel Review found that a fundamental shortcoming of the current EPBC Act is that it does not provide sufficient constraints on discretion, resulting in uncertainty and poor environmental outcomes. With key decisions and tests throughout the bill dependent on whether the minister is satisfied something is the case or whether an action is not inconsistent with something, this bill risks entrenching the very weaknesses of the current EPBC Act that have allowed Australia's environment to decline so sharply and seriously. With 19 ecosystems on the brink of collapse and an extinction and deforestation crisis in this country right now, the subjective language that pervades this bill simply does not provide a guarantee that in another 25 years the situation for Australia's nature will not be even worse. We cannot allow this to happen. When we know full well the power and influence of the industry lobbying can exert, we simply cannot leave it to an unknown future individual's discretion, the minister of the day, to ensure our incredible nature is protected. I commend all these amendments to the House. Thank you.